All right, let's talk about why our brains sometimes feel like they're, well, glitching out in this crazy modern world. It's this incredible disconnect that, when you understand it, explains so much about why we are the way we are.
No, seriously, have you ever just stopped and asked yourself that? Why do we have these impulses that just seem to work against our own best interests? Well, it turns out the answer isn't here in the 21st century. We've got to go way, way back into our ancient past.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. You've had a perfectly healthy meal, you're trying to do the right thing, and yet that candy bar in the pantry is practically screaming your name. Why is that craving so unbelievably powerful?
Or what about this weird paradox? We're more connected digitally than any humans in history. We live packed together in these massive cities, surrounded by people, and yet so many of us feel profoundly lonely. It just doesn't add up, right?
And then there's that constant ping of notifications, the never-ending pressure of deadlines, that feeling of being stuck under fluorescent lights. These aren't just random annoyances. We can think of them as glitches, our ancient programming just struggling to run in a world it was never ever designed for. So let's get into it. To really get a handle on these glitches, we have to look at our brain's original operating system. I'm not talking about the hardware, the skull and the gray matter. I'm talking about the software. The programming that was installed tens of thousands of years ago, a package we call behavioral modernity. So what is that exactly? Well, behavioral modernity is basically the whole suite of cognitive tools that really make us us. It's not just about having a big brain case. It's the ability to think in symbols, to plan for the future, to create art, to tell stories, and, this is crucial, to build on the knowledge of the people who came before us. This is the software that let our species take over the planet. And this timeline here, it points to this really fascinating debate among scientists. Did our modern software just kind of switch on all at once in a big cognitive revolution about 50,000 years ago? Or, as more and more evidence from Africa suggests, was it a much slower, more gradual installation of new features that started way, way earlier? So how do we even know this software was up and running? Well, archaeologists find clues like these. And these aren't just old objects, they're proof. The cave paintings, that's abstract thought. The jewelry, that's symbolism and identity. The complex, specialized tools, that shows deep, multi-step planning. These are the fingerprints of a fully modern mind at work. Okay, so we've got this incredible ancient software that was perfected for a very specific kind of world. But here's the kicker. The world changed, like dramatically. And our brains, they never got the memo. There was no software update 2.0. This is what scientists call the great mismatch. I mean, this chart really says it all. Our brains are wired for a world of small, tight-knit groups, where food was hard to come by and threats were immediate and physical, like a saber-toothed cat jumping out of a bush. But today's world, it's anonymous cities, an overabundance of food, and chronic abstract stress, like mortgage payments or work drama. Our entire environment has been flipped on its head. And this is the core idea. The scientific term for it? Evolutionary mismatch. You can think of it as the gap, or the lag, between the world our brains were built for and the world we actually live in now. Our psychology is basically playing a game of catch-up, and that lag, that's the source of so many of our modern glitches. All right, let's get specific. Enough with the theory. How does this mismatch actually pop up in our day-to-day lives? We can see it crystal clear in at least 3 huge areas: our health, our relationships, and even how we function at work. Let's go back to that sugar craving. In the world of our ancestors, this was a brilliant survival mechanism. The input was rare, sweet stuff like ripe fruit or a honeycomb. The brain's simple rule, hey, eat the sweet thing, was a fantastic guide. It led to a highly adaptive output, getting vital calories and nutrients. That rule literally kept you alive. Now, let's fast forward to today. The brain's rule is exactly the same. Eat the sweetest tasting things. But the input has been totally hijacked. Instead of rare fruit, we're surrounded by processed foods that have been scientifically engineered to be hyper-sweet. The ancient mechanism works perfectly, but the modern output is completely maladaptive, leading to all sorts of health problems. It's a classic mismatch. And this mismatch isn't just about food. Think about our social world. We evolved in tiny hunter-gatherer bands. The population density in some of today's cities can be 100,000 times larger than what we evolved for. Our brains just weren't built for that kind of scale. And the consequences are everywhere. When we see thousands of curated, perfect people on social media, it can actually make our real-life partners seem less appealing. Our ancient systems for picking a mate get confused by things like oral contraceptives, which can change hormonal cues. And living in super dense cities can even subconsciously signal our brains to delay having a family. And at work? Yeah, we're often still drawn to leaders who look physically tall and strong, even when the job is all about spreadsheets and strategy.
Okay, now this might all sound a little depressing, like we're just doomed by our own programming. But that's not the takeaway at all. The key here is to see this knowledge not as a limitation, but as an instruction manual. We can actually learn to hack our own ancient brains.
Exactly. Knowing that your brain is hardwired to crave sugar isn't an excuse to eat a whole cake. It's a strategy. It's the critical piece of information you need to design an environment that helps you succeed, like maybe not keeping junk food in the house in the first place. It empowers you to work with your nature instead of constantly fighting against it.
I absolutely love this way of thinking about it. There is nothing fundamentally wrong with us. Our instincts, our cravings, our anxieties, they all made perfect sense for almost the entirety of human history. We're not broken. We're just running on a very old, and for a long time, very successful operating system in a world that is brand spanking new.
And that really leaves us with this final powerful question. If we truly understand the ancient rules our minds are playing by, how can we get smarter about designing everything? Our lives, our cities, our workplaces, our technology. How do we build a modern world that better fits our ancient nature? That right there is the challenge and the huge opportunity that the great evolutionary mismatch presents to every single one of us.